are in Chapter 3, the original edition, Section 9, Creating versus the Self-Image. All right, so last week we talked about judgment and the authority problem, and it was saying that the authority problem is our only problem, a synonym for our only problem, and that all judgment is an attempt to be our own author. And that is what keeps us from peace and happiness and wholeness and health, is that I'm using judgment as a weapon for my own authority, because I'm trying to be my own authority. But when I deny my own true author, that I didn't create myself and I have an author, when I deny that, I'm denying myself the very source of all my good and all my power and all my peace and all my joy. And so one of the things that we practiced a lot last week was the remembrance, the formula that goes something like this. I did not create myself. Oh yeah, I did not create myself. Oh yeah, I did not create myself. And I don't need to judge in order to organize my life. I did not create myself. I do not need to judge. I do not need to judge. So we practice with that. We practice that practice. So tonight we're going to talk about creating versus the self-image. Okay. So I can either extend my source, or I can make up a self-image. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. So it says, every system of thought must have a starting point. What does that mean? That means that every system of thought, every one of them, begins with either a making or creating, a difference which we have discussed already, because we're talking about thought systems. Thought systems. Every thought system has what? A starting point. And what is the starting point? It's either creating or making. I've either created this thought system or I've made it. Okay? In other words, I'm either extending it or making it. Now, the resemblance of these thought systems lies in their power as foundations. Any foundation of a thought system has power. That's what's similar about them. The difference of these two thought systems lies in what rests upon these two thought systems. In other words, both thought systems are cornerstones for systems of belief by which men live. Okay, so what is the cornerstone by which people live? Their belief system. Where does it all start? How I live, how I experience life, how I experience the world. What's my life like? It all starts with my belief system. Wow, because my belief system is the cornerstone by which I live. Now, go ahead.
So the cornerstone is like your worldview then?
Exactly. The cornerstone is your worldview, and then your world comes from that.
Right, based on that.
Exactly. Most people don't realize that their world comes from their thought system, their belief system. They think their world comes from somewhere else besides only their belief system, what I believe about myself, what I believe about God, what I believe about others, what I believe. Okay? Now, either my thought system is something that I've created, which the Course defines as extended, or my belief system is one I've made up. Okay? I either have a belief system that it was given, I didn't make it, I didn't create it, but I extend it, or the other one I make up. So, what kind of thought system do you have? Do you have one that you've made up, or that someone made up for you and you borrowed because they told you you should? Or do you have one that you did not create, that you did not make up, but that you are extending? Okay? So then it says, both are cornerstones of belief by which men live, and it is a mistake to believe that a thought system which is based on lies is weak. Okay? So you've got a thought system based on lies and a thought system based on truth. Those are our two options. And basically, you've got two belief systems, love or fear. That's it. One is created, one was made. Okay? Now, To think that a belief system that's based on lies, which is fear, to think that that belief system is weak just because it's based on lies, he says that's a mistake. Because you may have noticed that somebody who has a fearful belief system, that is not weak for them at all. Their belief in that belief system, even though it's based on lies and fear, is not weak. It's not weak at all. It has all the power in the world for them, right? So don't think that just because a belief system is based on fear that it's weak, right? It will still have a lot of power over the person who believes in it, right? He says, and that's because nothing made by a child of God is without power. And then says it's essential to realize that nothing made by a child of God is without power, because otherwise you won't understand why you have so much trouble with this course and will be unable to escape from the prisons which you have made for yourselves. Okay, I'll be unable to escape the prisons or the problems that I've made for myself, and I won't understand why I have so much trouble with this course. Now see, that's a line that's in the original but not the edited. The line that goes, otherwise you will not understand why you have so much trouble with this course. Right? And I love hearing, oh, why is it I have so much trouble with this course in terms of resistance or understanding or whatever it is? Well, it's because I don't realize yet that anything made by a child of God has power, even if it's a lie. Anything we make has power because it's made by us. And he says it's essential that we understand that. Even if it's not true, it still has power because you made it. Interesting. That's why he says you can't dismiss the ego so lightly, you know. And you need to know that, you need to realize that, or else you won't be able to escape from your problems. Okay.
So you're still creating, but when you lie, you're discreating. You're not creating with God, you're just creating.
When you're what?
Okay, so when you lie, then you're miscreating.
That's
because
right.
You're not creating with God.
Right, exactly. But you also need to know that even though it's coming from your ego and it's not true, it still has a lot of power for you, right? And it's essential that we understand that, because otherwise we are going to go, oh, well, it's not true, so, and then we just dismiss it without realizing. Apparently, to escape from the problems we've made, we have to realize just how much power we've given them. We have to realize this has all the power I've given it. You know, instead of like being in denial, oh, that's not real, oh, that's not real, oh, well, that's just an illusion, oh, that's just a body, I'm not a body, it's an illusion. That is true. But you don't escape from it without acknowledging just how much power you have given it. And that you've given it that power, right? So the Course is not about, he says, it's not about like denying the body in the world or denying the ego. It's not about pretending that it doesn't exist to you, right? Even if it doesn't, even if it isn't real, that isn't helpful to pretend you don't have a body or to pretend you don't live in the world. It's about recognizing that it seems powerful because you have given it that power. And acknowledging, wow, look at how much power I've given this. Okay, all the power that seems to have, wow, that seems to have a lot of power, and I gave it that. And he says that's essential to escaping it. So it's not about pretending I don't believe in it or pretending I don't experience a body or an ego. It's about seeing the power I've given it. And that's how I escape it, according to this. Wow.
So these two systems, both of them derive their power from me.
Yes.
And even though truth has power without my belief, but its power is on a spiritual level or something, but this level I'm at, the time and space,
Right, exactly.
these I give them the power.
Right, that's exactly right. I'm giving it the power, right? And it's fear or limits that I've given the power to. Now he goes on to say, he says, you cannot, He says, you cannot resolve the authority problem by depreciating the power of your minds. Okay? In other words, you can't resolve your ego problem. It's like, let's just say this. Whatever problem you got going on today, I cannot resolve this problem by depreciating the power of my mind. Okay? But he says that's basically how we've been doing problem solving. This is how we do problem solving. I don't think about that. Or, so what if I think about it? We depreciate the power of our minds. We either don't think about it, or we don't realize that we have, like what the Course says, we just think of it as an idle thought, right? We depreciate the power of our minds to deal with our fears, right? I'm afraid of what's in my mind. I'm afraid of what I'm thinking. I'm afraid of what I'm thinking because it was unloving. And so instead of going, oh, look at this unloving thought that I made and gave all this power to, wow, I must be powerful. Instead of doing that, we solve that problem by depreciating the power of our minds and then going, well, that's an idle thought. And he says, and we just become very complacent with our mind wandering. We just allow our minds to wander. Oh, we have an ego thought, oh, whatever. And we have another ego thought, oh, whatever. Just because I had it doesn't mean it's powerful. Oh, that's just an idle thought. That's just an idle thought. We treat our ego thoughts like idle thoughts. We're depreciating the power of our minds, right? And that's the way we're trying to deal with that, resolve that problem. Not realizing that every single thought we have has an effect at some level. Every single thought we have has power. Why? Because we thought it. And he says, and if you realize that there are no idle thoughts, and everything a child of God thinks has power because the child of God is thinking it, he says we wouldn't condone our insane thinking. We wouldn't be so tolerant of mind wandering. Right now we're very tolerant of mind wandering. My mind can have 37 ego thoughts in 5 minutes without me going, oh my goodness, look at all these ego thoughts that I'm sitting here manifesting and giving power to, and I'm just like acting like do. And then have all these negative effects come my way and then go, gee, where did that come from? I'm having a bad day, right? Not realizing that I have been generating those things with the power of my mind, but not realizing I was doing it because I've been depreciating my power of my mind. I didn't want to see my ego thoughts. I just didn't see them. Okay? So he says, so I'll say it again. You cannot resolve this problem, the authority problem, by depreciating the power of your minds. To depreciate the power of your minds is to deceive yourself. And when you deceive yourself, this will hurt you because you know the strength of your mind. You also know that you cannot weaken your mind any more than you can weaken God. The, quote, devil is a frightening concept because he is thought of as extremely powerful and extremely active. That is how we think about the devil. The devil is perceived as a force in combat with God, battling God for possession of the souls God created. And the devil, as we know the devil, deceives by lies and builds kingdoms of his own in which everything is in direct opposition to God. Yes, that is how we perceive the devil, right? Yet, the devil attracts people. The devil deceives by lies and builds kingdoms on his own, which everything's in direct opposition to love, but yet the devil attracts men. Yeah, the devil attracts men rather than repels them. And people are seen as willing to, quote, sell the devil their souls in return for gifts that they recognize are of no real worth. Interesting that he talks about the devil here, right? So it says that, we have made up this concept of the devil, who is an exact extreme opposition to love, but yet attracts people. I'm curious. And that people are willing to sell their souls. For what? In return for gifts they recognize are of no real worth. Interesting. Okay. Now he says, us recognizing that what the devil is selling is of no real worth, but yet it attracts us. He says this makes absolutely no sense. The whole picture is one in which man acts in a way he himself realizes is self-destructive, but which he does not choose to correct, and therefore perceives the cause as beyond his control. Okay, I'm going to say that sentence again, okay? So, this is the picture of the devil, in quotes, and our relationship with the devil, okay? This whole, relationship with the devil. And what is it and where does it come from? What the heck is it? It's this. It's a picture in which man, and this is in the original, not the edited, it's a picture in which man acts in a way that man realizes is self-destructive. I'm acting in a way that I realize is self-destructive, but a way which I don't choose to correct, and therefore perceive the cause as beyond my control. Interesting. That's what that whole experience of the devil is a manifestation of that thought. I'm choosing to act in a way that I realize is destructive. Okay, is there anywhere in your experience right now where you recognize that you are acting in a way that is self-destructive? Anybody? Is there anywhere in your life where you can go, I know that that's not good for me. I know that's not helpful. Okay? I know I'm acting in a way I myself realize this is self-destructive. This is not good for me. This is not good for me. This is not good for me, what I'm doing. It's self-destructive. But I don't choose to correct it. I've got a lot of things like that. I know this is not good for me. I know this isn't good for me. I know this isn't helpful. But yet I don't choose to correct it. Now, when I myself recognize I am acting in a way that's self-destructive to me, I get that. But I am not going to choose to correct it at all. What happens after that is that it appears that I've lost control over it. And now I'm like, oh, I'm addicted to this. Or, oh, I just cannot, I can't control my attraction to it. Wow. That is the situation or the dynamic that gave rise to the collective concept of the devil, who makes you do things you don't want to do. Who obviously represents goals are self-destructive, but yet you're somehow attracted. That's where the whole concept of the devil comes from. It's a relationship with something within me that it seems like I don't have control over, that has me acting in a way that I know is not good for me, but yet I'm attracted to it, and I don't choose to correct it. Wow.
So when you don't choose to correct it, you're giving that thing all the power over you.
Exactly. That's exactly right. When I recognize that it's self-destructive, but I don't choose to correct it, and when I say, no, I'm not going to correct that. I'm not going to do whatever it takes to correct that. Now, all of a sudden, I've created something big and scary and powerful outside of me that's seeming to try to make me do things against my will. Right? The devil. Okay? And that's where that concept comes from. That's what I hear him saying. And this is in the original, but not the edited. Okay?
So that's really anytime I have the desire to be the victim,
Yes.
rather than the one who chose,
Right, exactly.
then this is what I'm asking for. Basically.
Exactly. So we could say the same thing about our ego. I got an ego. This is the story of my ego. I have something within me that I myself recognize as self-destructive. I have a voice within me. I myself recognize as self-destructive because it's mean, it's cruel, it's angry, it's impatient, right? But I don't choose to correct it. I just tolerate it. I just condone that ego thinking. My ego just goes mean, limitation, cruel, and I don't choose to correct it. I just let it go on and do its thing, right? And then I see my ego as outside of me. Now I see my ego as outside of me and powerful and trying to get me, right? So the concept of the devil is just the projected concept of the ego, which is one of those belief systems that I base my life on. So the ego is a belief system, right? But because I recognize it's destructive, but I don't take any responsibility for it and I condone it, now that thought system seems to be outside of me and has me at its mercy. It's trying to control me, trying to get me to sell my soul to it.
So
And then I call it, that's the devil. The devil.
Whatever is happening to you, you're choosing that thing. It's not just happening
That's right.
random.
Exactly. Exactly. Anything that seems to be outside of me and have power over me, to make me do things that are self-destructive, even though I know they're self-destructive, but I'm still attracted to it, that's something that I gave a lot of power to. But I gave that power to it. And until I go, wow, okay, I gave that all the power it seems to have. This problem, this temptation doesn't have power over me. Until I say that and see that, then I won't be able to escape it. You know, I can't escape anything I don't recognize I gave the power to it. I can't, until I go, that has all the power I gave it. That has all the power I gave to it. Right. I made this. It did not make me. Until that is my approach, even if I don't believe it, I will never escape it. As long as it's something outside of me, trying to tempt me against my will. Wow. Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Okay, so we want, anything that we see as beyond our control, well, that's the thing that we're upset about. That's the thing we're afraid of. That's the devil, that's the ego that we have externalized. And I'm afraid of it because I don't think I have any control over it. So this problem, whether it's a financial problem, a relationship problem, or a health problem, or a world problem, I am afraid of it because I think I do not have any control over it. And now I'm scared of it, right? So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to reverse the process. And I'm going to have to go, all right, this thing that I am afraid of because I don't seem to have any control over it, this is my thought. I am responsible for this, even if I do not remember asking for it, even though I don't remember making it. This came from my thought. This is a thought in my mind. And I ask for correction. Because remember, he said, anything that you recognize as destructive and that you don't ask for correction for, that is something that will seem to have power over you. So that means I've got to go, this is not coming from outside of me, this is coming from within my mind, and I ask to correct it. I choose to correct it. I ask for the correction. That's the formula. Now it won't seem to have control over me because I remember where it came from, I thought. And now I'm not afraid of it. That's the formula for undoing the devil out there that you seem to be afraid of or that you have fear over. Wow. Okay.
So is at the base of all my problems is my wish to deceive myself.
That's right.
Without that, it couldn't have went anywhere.
Exactly.
And that's where the correction is in me asking, no, I don't want to deceive myself anymore.
Exactly. Thank you for saying that, because the thing that we're deceiving ourselves about is the power in our minds. He says if you ever want to escape the ego or let it be corrected, he says there is one thing that you must never forget. You must always keep it in your mind and never forget. And it's this: the mind is very powerful. Your mind is very powerful. It means it never sleeps. It never loses its creative power. And he says, you've got to remember that. Because if you don't remember that, that's what we're deceiving ourselves about. I am deceiving myself about the power in my mind. And I'm trying to, what was the word he used? I'm trying to, what was he said? I'm trying to, what was the word he used? Depreciate. I'm trying to depreciate the power of my mind. I'm trying to forget, I'm trying to deceive myself about how powerful my mind is. I'm trying to teach myself that I can think all kinds of things all day long, and so what? It doesn't make any effects. That's how I'm trying to deceive myself. I'm trying to forget that my thoughts don't have any power. I'm trying to forget my mind is not powerful. I'm trying to forget my mind is powerful. And that's how I'm trying to deceive myself. And the way I do that is I don't pay attention to my thoughts. I let my ego go hog wild. Never look at what I'm thinking. And then I choose not to correct it. So I don't choose to look at it. I let my mind wander. And then I don't stay conscious of my thoughts, and I don't bring them to correction. Because why bring them to correction? I don't even know what I'm thinking. And then when things happen to me, then I have this life where it just seems like things are happening to me. It doesn't seem like I'm proactive. It's just like I just go from day to day seeing what's going to happen to me. And then my only freedom is how I'm going to react. You know, the victim life. That is the life in the world that comes from that thought system. Right? The thought system of, my mind's not powerful. My thoughts don't have any power.
Well, that's a pretty good trick.
My thoughts just come and go as they will. I don't know where they come from and where they're going.
To be able to deceive yourself and then not be aware of it,
Yep,
that's a lot of power.
that's a lot of
And that
power.
also would make it seem like there's a power out there
Exactly.
doing it.
So when I am not listening to my own thoughts and not staying conscious of the power of my mind that goes into every single one of my thoughts, then what I'm doing is I'm setting up, I'm automatically projecting the power of my mind outside of me. Now there's a great big power outside of me, right? But because it's outside of me, I have to be afraid. Now I'm afraid. Right? Because I feel powerless. I feel scared because I feel powerless. And so if I want to feel like I'm not out of control or something's outside me has more control, then I'm going to have to take responsibility for everything I see. And I'm going to have to realize that, hey, if I see it, that must have come from my mind. That must have come from a thought from my mind. And oh, wow, look at that. Every single thought I have produces form at some level. Oh, my mind must be powerful. Wow.
So the mistake we make is when we're in the thought stage, we just don't recognize that that thought is a choice that we've made.
That's right.
And we're just choosing to go with it instead of going and taking it to the higher, I guess you could say the higher self.
Exactly.
So if you catch it in the thought stage,
Right.
then you have a better chance.
Exactly. And that's one of the great benefits of the workbook or meditation or prayer or any kind of silence practice. Because for once, it's a practice that enables you to become aware of your thoughts, what you're thinking, right?
And this isn't new really to anyone. because, I mean, you hear people always, they'll say something and they'll say, oh my God, I can't believe I just put that out there.
Right, yes,
So on some level, they know
right.
that
Yes.
their thoughts
Are powerful.
do matter.
That's right. That's right. That's why he says that's why we're trying to depreciate the power of our minds and be in denial like that, because he says you really do know that, you know, that thoughts have power and that your mind has power. We really do know that. You know, that's why we're trying to not be aware of what we're thinking. Right? That's our way of handling the condition where we're afraid of our own thoughts. You know, I don't want to believe that my thoughts have power, because I know what I've been thinking all day. I don't want to believe that has power. All those negative, angry, self-serving, selfish thoughts I've had. You know, are you telling me that every single thought I have has power and my mind, it never loses its creative power? It's always creating? That's scary to make my ego, because whoa, I'd rather just not see my mind as powerful. I'd rather not see myself as having power than realize what kinds of thoughts I've been given power to. That's why he says we're trying to depreciate the power of our minds. And boy, have we gotten really good at that, or what? I mean, we've created a whole world to keep us from our mind. What's in my mind? What am I thinking? How is it manifesting? Is that really what I want to be thinking? You know, oh, no, it's not. Okay, let me bring that thought for correction. You know, we've created a world to keep us away from our mind. And what about our mind? It's power. It's power that never sleeps. Wow.
So you're depreciating your mind and not taking responsibility for the thoughts that it's creating.
Exactly, exactly. And to me, that's the process of, you know, what the workbook is trying to get us to is becoming aware. You know, it's trying to help us create this awareness, the practice of awareness, where we become quiet and become aware of our thoughts. And once you become aware of your thoughts, and you do have to cross a threshold of fear to even become aware of your thoughts, right? That's why meditation is so scary to a part of us. That's why it's so difficult. That's why he's saying, you understand why you have so much trouble with this course. You know, to get to a state of stillness and quiet where you can first hear what you're saying to your own self, your own thoughts, and not stop and get afraid and shut down. Okay, that's a miracle. And you keep going. Behind your thoughts is the thoughts of God. Right? So it's this practice, it's this process by which we become quiet enough to hear those thoughts. Recognize which thought system they come from, choose to correct it, and then find our real thoughts. Of course, it says your real thoughts are in your mind. They are there. The thoughts of God are there. They're just behind your thoughts. But in order to get to the thoughts of God, you've got to be able to hear your thoughts. But to get to your thoughts, you've got to cross what he calls the outside ring of fear. Right? We're afraid to see our thoughts because we're afraid to see what we've been creating. And so this is our curriculum in that process. All right.
So I've been deceiving myself, and it's hurting me.
Yes.
This requires I become honest, and the only way I have to be motivated to do that, which means really to understand that this hurts me, this is gonna not hurt me.
That's exactly right.
You got to be willing to see that.
Exactly.
And
Exactly. I mean, if you're going to choose again, if you're ever going to choose something different than the past that you've learned, the Course says you're going to have to go through a period of sorting out. He actually calls it the apocalypse, which is really funny. You know, you go to the apocalypse. Really, the apocalypse is just the process where within your own mind you sort out the false from the true, the fear from the love, the lies from your truth, and you sort it out. Really, you know, how are you going to choose this if you can't sort out? Well, how can you sort out your thoughts unless you become aware of what you're thinking, right? But we have so externalized our thoughts and our mind, we don't even know what we're thinking anymore. We don't even know, because we're listening to someone, we're listening to the TV, and we're listening to others, and we're listening to everything but our own mind, our own thoughts, because we know the power of our minds. We do, and we're afraid of our thoughts. Because we know the power of our mind, we're afraid of our thoughts. But you lose your fear of seeing, like, I'm not going to be so afraid to look at my murderous thoughts, for instance, or my jealous thoughts, or my competitive thoughts, or my greedy thoughts, or my anger thoughts. I'm not going to be so afraid to go, wow, look at that angry thought. I'm not going to be so afraid of that if I have a formula by which I know I can bring that full correction. And that's, for me, that's the priceless gift of the Course. Now I don't have to be afraid of my ego. Now I can listen to my own thoughts, because if I hear something that's ugly or mean, I can go, wow, that is coming from the ego thought system, and I ask for the correction of that spirit. Spirit, what is the correction of that belief? That thought that comes from that belief, what is the correction for that? Ask for the correction for that right now. That's how it gets corrected, right? But I can't ask for that correction if I'm not willing to listen to my own thoughts.
So then awareness is the active catalyst. And
Yes.
I'm having these kind of frightening thoughts, but since they are frightening, I don't really want to acknowledge them.
That's right.
I kind of push them away.
That's right.
And I go, yes, I am having those
Yes,
thoughts.
right.
And I have to acknowledge that I am having them before I will ask for a correction.
Exactly.
Because without that awareness, you're not going to say, what do you say, God?
Exactly.
So that's
Without
the
that
part
awareness,
plays.
I'm not going to see what it is I'm thinking, and then I'm not going to be motivated to ask for the correction. Exactly.
And the correction is not something I should try to do myself.
Exactly.
It's just something I ask for.
Exactly.
Because the fear is what I did myself.
Exactly. Exactly. And until that is the way that I handle, until that's the way that I handle my problems, and that is a practice that I have, then I'm literally just going to continue to feel like this very weak little victim threading my timid way through the world, scared of everything, hoping at most that God, who holds my life by a little thread, will not break it off today, right? So in other words, until this is my practice, I'm just going to feel out of control all the time. And I don't like that feeling. I don't know about you guys, but that feeling of feeling out of control is what hurts and is scary, you know. That's sometimes where just that wave of fear comes over me, where I just feel like I have no control, right? Well, that thought, I have no control, that is a lie. And that's what is frightening me. That's what I'm making to frighten myself. But if I realize my own thoughts, and I realize my mind is powerful, which means every single one of my thoughts is powerful, and I re-acknowledge and I acknowledge the power of my mind, and I ask for correction of everything that's in my mind that's not loving, now I do not feel out of control, because now I feel like I am in control, because that is control, because my mind is controlling my world. That's its control. It's not the president, it's not the government, it's not the corporations, it's not global warming, you know, it's my mind that's controlling my world. And I can either use my mind to accept true control, true authority, grace, or I can use my mind to be, I'm in control, I'm gonna gain control like this, and I'm gonna keep control like that, and I'm gonna take control like this, and I'm gonna maintain control like this, and I'm gonna try to keep it all together. Boy, am I anxious and tired. And never feel safe, never feel like I'm in control.
It seems like it's a battle between the power of your mind and the power of your choice. And then
Right.
your ability to adhere
Yes.
to that choice.
That's right. You saying that you could say, it seems like, just what we read earlier, it seems like in my mind or in the world there's two forces battling for control of my soul. Anybody had that experience? He says that's where the whole concept of the devil came from. I feel like there's two forces, powerful forces in me fighting for my soul. They're both fighting over my soul, and the ego's over here going, oh, you are better, you're worse than, whatever. And then on the other side, there's spirit and there's truth. That's the mental condition that the whole concept of the devil fighting against God for possession of your soul came from. That's the ego. We made the ego ourselves, and we gave it all this power by projecting it out into the world. But what happens when you project something you made out into the world, forgetting you made it? Well, now it seems real big, like now it's coming back for you. Whatever you project out into the world, I didn't make that, I didn't do that, that's not my thought. Now it becomes big and powerful, with seemingly power over you, and it comes back for you. Wow. Isn't that interesting? Okay, let's see. It says, we have discussed the fall or separation before, but its meaning must be clearly understood without symbols. Okay? The fall, the separation, we've got to understand its meaning clearly without symbols. What kind of symbols? Well, that's because the separation is not symbolic. What is the separation? What's the fall? It's an order of reality or a system of thought that is real enough in time, though not in eternity. All beliefs are real to the believer. Do you want this? Okay. All right. Okay, so what is the fall? Okay, so we know the fall as in symbols, right? Like, get kicked out of the garden, kind of symbols, right? He says we got to understand the fall, not in symbols. What is the fall? It's an order of reality or a system of thought. What is the separation? An order of reality or a system of thought. That's what the fall is. That's what the ego is. It's just a system of thought that seems very real in time, but it's not real in eternity. And all beliefs are real to the believer. Okay? So that's what the fall or the separation is, right? So we're hearing here that it wasn't a punishment. It wasn't a fall from grace. It wasn't a fall at all, right? It wasn't a rejection. It was just a belief. It was just a system of thought. That's all it is. Wow. So the ego that I have within my mind, and remember the ego, what's the ego? It is the part of me that wants to do things that are self-destructive, even though I recognize that they are destructive when I'm attracted to them. Does anybody have a part like that? Anybody recognize that? Okay, so when we talk about the ego, that's what we're talking about. We, Course in Miracles students and psychologists, we call it the ego, or but more religiously oriented folks will call it the devil. okay? But we know that it's a system of thought that we made up and believed in, and then externalized outside of us, and then, oh my God, there's something so powerful outside of me, it's trying to get me, right? When really, it's just something that I made up within me that's trying to get me. That I am condoning, meaning there's something within me that's trying to get me. He's trying to hurt me, he's trying to attack me, he's trying to be mean to me, he's trying to put me down. And I don't bring it for correction. I go, oh yeah, I don't like that part of me. Right? But I don't go, wow, that's really mean. I think I would like to bring that thought for correction. This is the ego. And the ego came from the fall or the separation. And so it's interesting to think of our ego in that way. It's not a loss of power. It's not a loss of innocence. It's not proof that there's something wrong with me. It's what it is. My ego is not a proof that there's something wrong with me, that there's something defective in me. The ego is not proof that there's something wrong with me, or that I have somehow been rejected. The ego is just proof of a system of thought that I maintain, and which means don't bring for correction. That's what this problem is. That's what my ego is.
So when it says real in time but not in eternity, then is time a belief? If I believe I am in time, that is a belief of mine. Can we therefore help part of that problem by Holy Spirit to help me correct my belief that I am in time?
Absolutely.
When in reality I am in eternity.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, and at the very least, the process of correction for whatever seems outside of you and more powerful than you and scary, seeming like it has power over you, the formula for correction is to tell yourself the truth about it. This is a thought in my own mind. I am giving this all the power it has for me. Only love has power. Only what's of God has power. And he says to say this, only love has power. All power is of God. All power is of God. What is not of God, or love, has no power to do anything. And he says, when you say that about whatever it is outside of you that seems to have so much power over you, that's frightening you, when you say that, all power is of God. What is not of God has no power to do anything, or has no power over me. This is a thought in my own mind, and I ask for correction for that thought. It is like magic. It's as if you took out a magic wand, but better. He says, so really, the way that you free yourself and regain, and the power that you think you lost to this thing outside of you, is to tell the truth about it. Is to tell the truth about it.
So would it be accurate to say then that I am only in time and space because I think I am?
Yeah, absolutely.
If I did not believe that, I would not be there anymore.
That's right.
I like that one exercise where it says, concerning this situation, there's nothing my holiness cannot handle.
Yes. There's nothing my holiness cannot do.
Yes.
Yes, that's right. Exactly. Exactly.
That is powerful.
Exactly. So there's two parts to that formula, and it is to deny that anything not of love has any power over you. Okay, if this isn't loving, it has no power. And the second part is to recognize that your mind, the power that your mind does have, to accept correction for any mistake that it has made. Those are the two parts of that formula where you reclaim your power, and you reclaim the power of love within you, which is the end of your fear. Because how fearful are you going to be of something you recognize doesn't have any power over you, since it didn't come from love? You're not going to be afraid of it.
Well, I just saw a power of our mind that, I thought it was powerful before, but to think that we made time
Yeah,
from the power of our mind, it doesn't
That's
exist
right.
except for that.
that's right,
That's
exactly.
pretty wow.
Yes, exactly. Exactly, yes.
Yeah, and actually that was something I was just speaking about the other day. I'm in a philosophy class and I was speaking with my professor about time, how we look at it. It seems to be merely a man-made tool of measurement just to show us how we daily routine things,
Mhm.
when in reality it's completely infinity
That's right,
of our existence, and we merely are just that body, but it's the mind
that's right, exactly,
that perceives it that way.
exactly.
Right, okay.
Yeah, beautiful. Now, I forgot to tell you guys I was gonna end class tonight at 8:30 because I've got a plane that I've got to go catch.
Oh.
So, oh, thank you for saying that.
Aw.
Instead of, yay! All right. I guess that's all you girls needed.
That's all I
That's
needed.
That's all you needed. Whatever it was, whatever, you got it. So we're gonna stop here. I've got a plane to catch, and so we've got to run to the airport. Normally we go till 9, so it's nothing personal. Girls.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Because oh my God, here they come. Stop class early. So thank you for coming out tonight. We're going to do our love offering. Thank you for your financial expressions of appreciation. Thank you. So don't forget, if you want to learn more about my holistic counseling practice, Miracle Psychotherapeutics, you can go to my website, kujawa.com. And all my classes are on YouTube. You can watch them for free. And I've started a couple of new video series that you can check out, Lullaby Course, and also a guided healing meditation series.
And so for tonight's class, how long does it take before it shows up on YouTube?
This one will be about a week because I'm leaving town tonight and I won't be able to.
So what's the usual?
We usually, it can be anywhere from not that night to a week.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
And they're done by dates?
Yes, I date them all, and I do the year first, year, month, date, day. So
Okay.
you'll always put the date first.
And
That's
then
how
is
I
there
go.
like a title?
Yes,
What it was
but
about?
it won't be this section. I make up my own title.
Okay.
Okay. So you'll be able to recognize it by the date or my outfit. That's how I recognize it. Oh, I know.
And happy birthday last week.
Oh, thank you very much.
And where are you going tonight?
I'm going to Florida.
On a late flight.
Yes, on a late flight to Florida.
Okay, all right.
All right. So, so don't forget to check out my website, kujawa.com, if you'd like to learn more about my holistic counseling practice. Or if you want to see more of my videos or classes, then you can find them on YouTube. Just put my name in and scroll down. Okay? So now we're going to do our integration meditation. We're going to do 2 minutes. And if you need to go, you can. We're going to do 2 minutes. And, all right, any questions or comments before we close up? Anything that was interesting to you about that this evening? All right. So now in my integration meditations, what I like to do is I like to use whatever we just heard about. So what I'd like for you to do is I would like for you to close your eyes. And just tune into how you feel right now, having heard these ideas. How does it feel to have heard these ideas tonight? Beautiful. The first thing I want you to do is I want you to bring to your awareness a situation or a relationship that has felt frightening to you, or a situation or relationship where you have felt out of control in it and therefore afraid within it or afraid of it. Is there a financial situation that you feel out of control in relationship to? Is there a physical experience in which you feel out of control, or a relationship in which you feel out of control and therefore afraid in? And I want you to look into that situation for a moment or two, imagining that it is transparent and you can see right into the core of it. And I want you to look into it and see if you can find within it the fear of the power that it has over you, or it seems to have over you. And I want you to tell yourself, I'm afraid of this because I feel like I've lost control over it. And then I want you to look into that situation. And I want you to see if you can locate its core thought or core belief that you didn't want to feel, didn't want to know you were thinking, and so you pushed it out into this situation or relationship. And so this situation seems to be showing me that I'm unlovable or inadequate. But really, the core of it is a belief that I hold within my own self, that I've been afraid to look at. And so now we reclaim that thought and we say, this is a thought in my own mind. This situation is a manifestation of a thought within my own mind. And the thought within my own mind that this came from is a thought that I am, fill in the blank. And Spirit of healing and Spirit of truth, I ask for the correction of this belief that I am, fill in the blank. And then we acknowledge the truth about the situation, and we look into the situation and we say, all powers of God, all powers of love, and what is not of love has no power over me. And then feel that power, feel that sense of control returning into your being, reminding you that you are still safe, you are still strong, and that your mind is very powerful, and that you can choose again and give the power of your mind to a better thought, a more loving thought. And because of that, I'm still safe, and I'm still strong, and breathe in that feeling of strength. Breathe in that feeling of power. And then we say to Spirit, Spirit of truth, decide for the truth for me. And just breathe and feel. Beautiful. And then when you're ready, just bring your awareness back to the room and back to your body. All
Thank you.
right, good work. Thank you guys for being here and helping me to work that, that was what I needed. Thank you out there as well. Appreciate you guys. I'll see you next time I see you.